Hi Maker, this is Claire from Claire Makery, and today I am going to show you how to crochet the Bobble Hearts Blanket, a really cute patchwork crochet blanket. First, we're going to start with our heart squares. To make it, you will need a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, and then you'll also need some worsted weight yarn. I'm using Lion Brand Basic Stitch for this blanket, and you'll need a couple colors. To start the square, you're going to begin by making a slip knot. Then we are going to chain 23 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 chains. Then in the third chain from the hook, we are going to insert our hook, and then we are going to half double crochet in each one of the chain stitches. Then when you've got it all the way down, we'll chain 2 and turn, and then half double crochet across this row for another one. Once you have that, we're going to begin our color work. Start by chaining 2, then turning. Then we are going to half double crochet 10 stitches. So you'll crochet till you've got 10 half double crochets in this color. But on the last half double crochet, we aren't going to finish the stitch with this background color. So you'll see we've got our 3 loops, and on that last yarn over, we are going to switch colors by putting the yarn over and then pulling it through. Now we've got our first color of yarn, and we are going to do 1 half double crochet with this, but just like we did, we are going to do that last yarn over of pulling the yarn through with that background color. And then we've got our 1 stitch in color B. Then we will half double crochet to the end of the row, and that's another 10 stitches in this background color. So it'll look like this when we're done. Then we're going to chain 2 and turn, and then we are going to half double crochet to the stitch right before that one we did in color B. So crochet all the way to that stitch right before, and just like we did in the last row, we're going to switch our yarn colors to the other one on that last yarn over of our half double crochet, pulling it through. And then this next stitch is the first of our bobble stitches. So we are going to insert our hook and do a bobble stitch, which I have a full tutorial for how to do this stitch here on my channel and as well on my blog. I'll link it below. But essentially you are doing and then we're doing a half double crochet and then another bobble stitch where we just yarn over and do basically a half double crochet or a double crochet a couple times, but not finishing the stitch till we have 5 loops. Then on that last bobble, we'll switch to our background color, and then we will half double crochet the rest of the stitches across. And when you're all done with the row, the first row of bobbles will look like this. The next row will be just plain half double crochet stitches, so we're going to go to that stitch right before, switch our yarn color, and then do 5 half double crochets. And if you want to carry your yarn across to the other side, you hold it up to the back of your work like this, and then you just crochet essentially over it, and then that helps you carry the yarn across to the other side if you don't want to have separate yarn pieces and yarn balls for switching the colors. That's usually, I like to carry my yarn just because it makes it a little bit less messy, and it works pretty well for this pattern. So you'll see here on the back you've got this float. This is on the wrong side. This is how you can carry your yarn on the wrong side. You'll do your stitches, and then every couple you will just want to do what we did on that front side, but we're going to do it on the back. So you'll put your yarn up to the front of the next stitch. You'll insert your hook underneath that yarn you're carrying, insert it through the hook like this, and then crochet over. So it's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. And then you can just do that every couple stitches, and it'll create those floats that I showed you. After you've done most of the heart, we are going to turn our work here, start crocheting, and instead of switching our colors on that stitch right before the purple, we are going to keep going and then do one more stitch on the color B before we switch. And this is kind of when we're decreasing the color work without decreasing any stitches. Then we're going to do a bobble stitch right here. Then after we complete the bobble, we'll do a half double crochet. You can carry your yarn like I showed you before. Then another bobble stitch before we do another half double crochet after this bobble stitch, carrying our yarn right here. So we'll do one last bobble stitch, and then on this one we will switch to our pink. So we're not going all the way across with the pink yarn. Then we're going to do one half double crochet with this, and then we will switch our color, so just doing that one stitch like we did at the very beginning of the heart, and then we're going to repeat what we just did right there with those bobble stitches to get all the way across there before we switch back to the pink. The heart will look like this all done. Then we are going to work on our granny squares. So to start, you can either do a magic circle like I'm doing right here. So just twisting your yarn over, then hooking that yarn with your hook, which will create this nice little loop. So it creates a little circle that we're going to work in. Then we're going to chain 3. And then inside this loop, we are going to double crochet 2. So we'll go inside the loop, and you can pull that little yarn tail if the loop is getting too big. So do 2 double crochets. Then after we do that, so you'll pull it because it's getting a little too loose. We will do a chain 1. Then we are going to do 3 double crochets in here. Just like this. Then we'll do another chain. So it'll look like this at first. Then we'll do another chain. Then 3 double crochets. And then another chain. And then 3 more double crochets. So we're essentially doing those, creating 4 little clusters of double crochets right here. Then after we finish this little cluster, we are going to pull our strand tight all the way so the ring closes up. So we'll have those 4 little clusters closer together. Then we'll chain 1, and then we're going to slip stitch in the top of that 3rd chain that we did. And this will finish our first round of our granny square. Then to start the second one, we're going to slip stitch across over to that first chain 1 space. I like to just do a slip stitch in that space before I do chain 3 to start. This will count as the first double crochet. Then we're going to do 2 double crochets, and then after that you will chain 2, and then in that same chain 1 space we're going to do 3 double crochets. This is creating the first corner of the granny square. Then we're going, after we've got this first little corner right here, we are going to chain 1, and then we're going to skip over to that second chain 1 space, and in here we are going to do 3 double crochets, and then chain 2, so 2 chains, and then 3 double crochets again to create our second corner. And then you'll repeat that corner thing till you get back to the beginning. Once you're at the beginning, again chain 1, then join with a slip stitch through that 3rd chain, and then slip stitch all the way across to that first corner space we made in the previous round. I like to do a little slip stitch in there, then chain 3, and we're just doing the same thing we did with that first corner in the previous round, where we do the double crochets, then chain 2, and then do 3 more double crochets in that same corner space. And then once we've done that, then we are going to chain 1, and then we're going to go to that chain 1 space that we created in the previous round and do 3 double crochets in there. And once you've done those 3 double crochets, you're going to chain 1 again, and then you are going to skip to that next corner and go ahead and do 3 double crochets, then a chain 2, then 3 more double crochets to make a corner. Just like this. Then you are going to go to that next chain 1 space, just like we did here. We're just going to repeat that whole same process. Chaining 1, skipping to that, and then doing 3 double crochets in each one of the chain 1 spaces, and then doing what we did on the corners. So to 1, 2, chain 1 space, another corner, chain 1 space, and back to the beginning. Once you get back, just like we've done before, you'll chain 1, join with a slip stitch to that 3rd chain from the beginning. And to do more rounds, you'll just slip stitch over to the corner, do what we did with the corners on each of the rounds, then over to the cluster, then to another cluster in the corners, and just repeating that whole process all the way around the square. And then once you've done a whole granny square, it'll look like this. It's really nice and easy to do. Once you've finished all your squares, you can arrange them however you'd like, but you'll want to essentially do a heart, then granny square, heart, granny square, heart, all the way across for the rows. Once you've got them all arranged, it's time to seam. So I'm going to show you how to do this invisible seam right here, even though there's a couple different ways that you can do the seaming for this. So you'll put your squares right sides together, and then you are going to insert your needle, which has some yarn with a knot tied at the end. We're going to insert it through one of the bottom corners, through 2 loops on the bottom. On one side, go over to the next square, insert it through 2 loops of a stitch on the other side, then come back to this one, go through 2 loops on the edge, and kind of straighten that out, go back and just repeating this process of going back and forth. Then you'll just pull it tight to help that seam come together and hide that yarn. And then you can just keep going along the edge like this, going through either 2 loops of a post of a stitch or 2 different tops of stitches depending on what the edges of your squares look like. And this will help create that really nice invisible seam that you won't see. So I'll open it up and show you. See, it looks so nice. Nice and smooth. And then you can just keep repeating that kind of crisscross look till you get all the way to the end of your seam. To do these big rows of stitches and seaming, I'll show you how I do. You lay them right sides together, and then the key part is making sure that all the corners match. So I've got these stitch markers here, and this is what I like to use to kind of pin my pieces together so that it helps me line these up. So I'll show you. I hold it up, make sure all 4 of the corners of the squares match, and then I just pin it closed and repeat that. And then this way, when I'm seaming, I just can kind of make sure that everything lines up really nicely. So then I'll just put my little stitch marker in there to hold it. You could use other pins if you'd like. I just like to use these stitch markers because they don't poke me. And then just repeat that all the way down. Now you've got your finished heart blanket, and I hope you love it so much.